We've got three new models of our eco-friendly LEDs. Lumileds came out with a very, very warm color temperature LED, which we've incorporated into three different families. We've got it in the 893, the 792, and then the 526. The main difference between them, obviously, is they share the same castings and all the other components of their parent families, but the big driver for these is just size and output, right? So we've got roughly 1,000 lumen, effective lumens in the warm white 792. The 893 is roughly in that 2,000, and then the 526 will get you closer to that 2,500, 3,000. Again, just based on size. They do share all of the same mounting and sealing attributes as their parent families. So you've got IP67, IP69K, stainless steel hardware, and mounting brackets. The big difference is really just the output and the amount of light that you got to work with. The patterns on the three share the same optical system as their original one. So the 893 and the 782 that Greg have had that standard work lamp flood pattern. 526, this one's got the linear optic, which also gives you a real uniform flood. The super warm white, which is in that 1850 Kelvin, as opposed to our previous warm whites, which are closer to 3,000, and our standard stuff is in that 50, 6,000 Kelvin for our standard, cooler white. This is definitely a warm white lamp. If you've seen our dual color 526 with this 1850 Kelvin now in these eco-friendly, it is definitely a warmer light. It almost looks yellow and orange to the eye. The big advantage to this is some of the glare. If you've got dust, snow, things like that, where you're getting that veiling glare where the light's bouncing off of those particles in the air back into your eyes, the higher color temperature is far more irritating. Helps to promote alertness, which is why we use it for on-road lights. But in this case, in trying to reduce that annoyance for humans, we've actually gone to this 1850 degree Kelvin. So it also has an impact on the animals. Greg and I have looked into it. There are no hard regulatory requirements for the use of it along coastlines or shorelines. There's a lot of talk, both in Australia, New Zealand, the U.S., including Greg found in Hawaii. There are recommendations along the shorelines to reduce the possible impacting of turtles, migratory birds, things like that. Robert's done a little bit of looking in Australia and New Zealand with regards to migratory birds and bats, but that longer wavelength is less susceptible to affecting their patterns and or migration patterns. The other thing with the shorelines is, and whether that's on a piece of equipment or on a more stationary mount, is to shroud or shield it under those recommendations from like Florida Fish and Wildlife. They recommend aiming it down so you're not adding to the light pollution above the horizon. And then also some of the shrouding options that we've got also prevents stray light from entering the atmosphere.
Yeah, I mean, some to get specific with some applications, like even in situations where you're using like a UTV, an off-road vehicle, switching to something like this in really dusty conditions or in snow, this is really going to prevent the glare more so than any other color temperature lamp we have had in the past. You do lose some output, but without that reflection coming back in your eye, you're actually going to be able to see a bit further. And then also, in addition to, these places that have recommendations for regulation that impact wildlife, this could go to customers anywhere, say like you have vehicles or go-karts or golf carts in a zoo or in a wildlife sanctuary, anywhere like that where you may have a customer who has animals that are sleeping and you don't want to disrupt their circadian rhythm. This is really going to help with that. So nobody else has something like this that you could mount on something like that. So this really just gives a new opportunity for us. It's something that I can see regulations coming and more people starting to be concerned with disrupting wildlife, especially with LED technology, because when it first came out, it was so cool, it disrupted everything. Now, this is something to bring it back a little bit and meet in the middle if you run into those situations.